Hi everyone, my name is Sandra. Welcome back to my channel. So this is a video I've wanted to do for some time, and I'm going to call it the battle of the top 5 brush pens on my channel. Number 1, I have done a review of a whole bunch of brush pens, and these are the particular brush pens that have been viewed the most on my channel, and they're not necessarily my favorite brush pen. Obviously, the Tombow, if you guys have watched my channel, you will know that Tombows are one of my personal favorites. But the rest of them, especially the Marby Le Plume 2 and the Sakura Koi coloring brush pen, those particular videos blew up on my channel. And so what I wanted to do is just kind of rehash the qualities of each brush pen, the details, and what the upstrokes and downstrokes look like and how they compare together. And if you are trying to make a decision of which brush pens to get, maybe this video will help you. So let's get into it. So what we're going to do first is a swatch, and I will use the specific name of the brush pen. So we'll go ahead and do that first. Okay, so I wanted to leave that in real time for you guys so you could actually hear the sounds of these brush pens on paper. And keep in mind, I am using HP Premium 32 paper. It's 120 GSM. It's really smooth and soft and silky feeling. So the brush pens tend to squeak a little bit more on this paper than they would on normal printer paper. Another thing to note is that out of all of these brush pens, I have used the red Tombow dual brush pen the most, as well as the Sakura Koi. I use them to color because I probably shouldn't, because they are my favorite brush pens to use, but the Sakura Koi was just the prettiest color to use for Christmas spreads, and the Tombow, I just use my Tombows for everything because I love them so much. So also the Le Pen Flex is the only small brush pen to make this particular list. The next thing we're going to look at are the upstrokes and the downstrokes. So for each one, all I'm going to do are the brush strokes that are used the most often. And then you can get an idea of what size they are. Okay, so there are the brush strokes, and I found the one that was mostly like kind of scratchy on this paper was probably the Marvy Le Plume 2. And I think the reason is because the brush nib is so firm. So that comes to my next point. So we're going to talk about the sizes of the nibs. So this is the Tombow. This is the Marvy Le Plume 2. This is the Kiritaki Futabiyori, the Sakura Koi, and then of course the Le Pen Flex. So out of all of these, the Le Pen Flex is not comparable because it is tiny. So now these pens are all pretty comparable. Let's bring them up so you can see them. So I would have to say, out of all of them, the one that looks the largest is the Tombow. But as you can see, they're all pretty similar in the thickness. The Marvy Le Plume 2 is probably the most firm out of all of them, and it is the most skinny and about the same height actually as the Tombow. So the one that is probably the most floppy out of all of them, I would have to say, is the Kiritaki Futabiyori. And all of these are, I would say, a good beginner pen. I know a lot of people say that the Tombows take a learning curve, but I'd have to say they are my favorite pen. Even for a beginner, it's just, they're so easy to use. And I don't know if that's just me, but another good option is the Koi coloring brush pen. So again, these are all water-based and you can use them to blend and also for watercolor if you want to. So this is another thing that I would like to show. We're just going to do little swatches of each of the pens. And I want to show how they blend out on this paper as well as on watercolor. One of my tips for any of your brush pens, do not use them on watercolor paper because you will destroy your tips, like your brush pen nibs. Just don't do it. So I'm using this water brush pen here, and I'm just going to see if I can spread the ink around on the paper and see how much it spreads. So again, the Tombow, the Marvy Le Plume 2, the Kiritaki Futabiyori, and the Sakura Koi. So they all spread similar, but I'd have to say the Tombow and the Kiritaki Futabiyori actually are really, really nice to blend. The Kiritaki actually blended out better. So if we talk about color selection, I'm just going to put my caps back on quickly. So color selection for the Tombows. I know right now currently there are over 200 colors for the Tombows, and that is probably why they are one of my favorites, because the color selection is just so large and there are so many beautiful pastel colors which are pretty popular today. And the price point, so it depends what size of pack you get. You do get the best price point if you can get the pack of 200. It comes in a stand. When I first bought these a couple of years ago, they were $200 for all of them. So it was so cheap because I literally got like 200 pens. So it was like $1 a pen. If you go to Michael's, they're about $4 to $5 a pen. So it depends where you get them from. I did buy mine on Amazon at the time, and before, I guess, before they became really popular, and that's why mine were a lot cheaper. Now I think the price has gone up quite a bit on Amazon, and for a pack of maybe 10, 11 markers, you're looking at about $30. So next, the Sakura Koi coloring brush pen. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe the largest pack size is either, I'm not sure if it's 96, it's either 48 or 60 something. I have the 48 pack, so I do have a lot of colors, but obviously not as many as the Tombow. But these are a really nice starter pen, and we'll get into the different tips and stuff after we're done talking about the variety. So the Marvy Le Plume 2 also have a lot of colors, but I found these to be really pricey, and the comparison of the number of colors does not compare to Tombow at all. There's maybe a quarter of these, maybe verging onto a half of the color variety of the Tombows. And I just wanted to try them out and see what Marvy had to offer in brush pen comparison. And then for the larger brush pens, the Kuretake Futabiyori, there's only 2 or 3 packs to choose from online. I believe there's a grayscale pack, there is the colored pack, and then there is the metallic pack. And each of them come, I think, in about 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, about 10 markers. So you only have about 20 to 30 markers in this brand. And they're good for a beginner. They actually are fairly decently priced. So if you were looking to start out and you weren't sure if you liked brush lettering or not, this is a good choice. And then the last one is the Le Pen Flex. So each of them came, I think it was a 5 or 6 pack. There is the primary pack, which is the basic colors like red, blue, green, and black. And then there is the jewel tone colors, which I believe this is a part of, and then the pastel pack. So there are 15 markers in total, I believe. And again, for a small brush pen, they're okay. If you can find them cheap enough, I would advise to get them. But again, my favorites again are the Pentel Fude Touch. Okay, so now talking about the different tips. So Sakura Koi coloring brush pen unfortunately only come with one end, and I don't really want to say it's a shame, because I think the reason why I bought them personally is because I was using them as a water-based kind of paint to do watercolor with until I actually bought a good set of quality watercolor. And you can use them pretty much the same as any brush pen. So they're for students, graphic artists, designers, illustrators, architects, and cartoonists. And they have lasted a good time, like a good long while for me. I've used this pen for probably the last 2, 3 years, and the tip has held up even though I've used it for coloring a lot of my spreads. So this pen, like these pens, are really good quality. If you're looking for a decent brush pen and you only want one type, these are awesome for that. Again, the Kuretake Futabiyori are a good starter pen because they are easy to find on Amazon. They are relatively cheap. I think it's $15 for the 1 pack of 10 for the colors. And there aren't that many colors to select from, which is maybe a good thing when you're starting out, because if you don't know if you love brush lettering or calligraphy, you don't want to have a huge investment right off the bat. So this is a good starter pen. Again, it only has the one end. The Le Pen Flex is a small brush pen, so if you're looking for a small pen, this is a good option. It only has one end as well. And for the last two, the Marvy Le Plume 2 does have dual-ended tips. The large brush pen on the one side, and the other side is a fine liner. So I believe this is a 0.3 or 0.4 millimeter, and it works well. You can see how small it is. It's about the same size as a Triplus fine liner by Staedtler. And the Tombow is a bullet tip, so I'd call it a small bullet tip. I'll just write it out here. So it's more of, if I was to use it to write with, I'd probably pick the Marvy Le Plume 2, because this would be more for outlining for me, I think, if I was to color a drawing or something. And I wouldn't use this day to day, like writing out notes and stuff. And now we're going to look at how they blend out on watercolor paper. So again, do not use this on the watercolor paper because your pens will fray so quickly. So what I'll do instead is take a little bit of the ink with my brush pen here and just paint the tip of the water brush pen. So this one, I'm probably going to label these because otherwise we won't know which one is which. I'm going to use pencil so I don't ruin my fine liners. So this is the Marvy Le Pen Flex. We will do the Secure Koi, the Marvy Le Plume 2, Tombow Dual. And I say Tombow Dual brush pen instead of just Tombow because I also have the Tombow Fudenosuke brush pens. And this is the Kuretake Fude Biori. Okay, so next we're going to look at the Secure Koi. So again, I'm taking some of the color and just painting it on the tip of the water brush pen. So you will be able to see that the colors do change a little bit. Next is the Marvy Le Plume 2. And the one thing I can say about the Marvy Le Plume 2, they do tend to be a little bit drier than the other pens. And I'm not sure if this is because the caps don't stay on that well, but I find that I struggle to keep the caps on. They don't have like a satisfying click. It just kind of stays shut. Okay, the next one is the Tombow Dual. And the last is the Kuretake Fudebiori. Okay, and that is it for pretty much my comparison of the actual brush pen itself. So a little bit about the body of the brush pen. Personally, I kind of like the large, like longer size brush pens. The shorter ones, I don't know what it is about them. They just don't seem like a brush pen to me, even though of course they are. The shorter ones, obviously, in comparison, so the Sakura Koi and the Fudebiori are very similar. It's just the Sakura Koi have a much huger selection. The little Le Pen Flex, that one makes more sense to me to be small because it is a small brush pen. I don't know why that just, it's in my head. Small brush pen equals small brush pen tip. I don't know. And then the two that kind of compare are the Marvy Le Plume 2 and the Tombow, and they're about the same size. They're both a dual brush pen. So these are the closest color comparisons I could find. So I guess the reason why I always choose the Sakura Koi for Christmas is because it's more of a true red rather than more of a pink red, if that makes sense. I'd have to say out of these 5 particular, my top brush pens, like my top favorite, obviously, are the Tombows. They win hands down every time. But I would have to say, if you're looking for brush pen, like watercolor brush pen coloring, and you're looking to invest a good amount of money, I would get the Sakura Koi coloring brush pen because they are phenomenal. If you are looking for a small brush pen, of course, the Le Pen Flex. And if you are starting out and don't want to invest a huge amount of money, get the Kuretake Fudebiori. And unfortunately, in this, I have to say the Marvy Le Plume 2 don't win for me because they're a little bit more dried out and they're actually really expensive for a pack of 12. I think I was paying $30–40 on Amazon, and they're really hard to find the different colors. I think there's still a pack that I don't own yet because I just couldn't find it. I think it was the Victorian colors, and yeah, it's just they're harder to find. But the hands down for me, obviously the Tombows. If you can get them at the large brush pen pack, they're more affordable than anything. and the color selection is so great. You can use them for watercolor, you can use them for large brush pen calligraphy pieces. They're just all around a great brush pen to have in your collection. So I hope this video gave you some information that you can take away, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Also, if you're new here, I'd love to have you subscribe if you would be so kind and join our family. And again, click that bell notification button so you'll be notified every time I upload a new video. We'll talk to you guys again soon. Bye now.